Hi everyone, this is the Facebook and YouTube channels for SilverSilkOnline.com. I'm Stephanie Reis with Maureen Bradley Designs. Thanks so much for being here. In today's project, we are making a simple holiday bauble. It features the beautiful products from SilverSilkOnline.com and JessieJamesBeads.com. So some of the materials that you'll need to create this bauble are some styrofoam or foam balls. My personal preference is the foam ball because, as you can see, this is very porous and the pins tend to not stay with the ball or they can slip over time. So my personal preference is the foam ball, and you're going to need some pieces of coordinating ribbons, stick pins. These are just regular basic sewing stick pins. Some Jessie James beads I'm using today. This is some new strands from their website. This is water spout, rose violet, white, and I have the thunder polished glass crystal. This is the twisted round in 4mm, and then I just have the clear crystal. This is 1 by 1mm, also thunder polish. And I have a couple of bead caps, decorative bead cap, a Jessie James bead boho bead, a plastic bead, and then I pulled a longer dangle crystal sparkly bead from one of my leftover mixes from Jessie James Beads. For the silver silk we're going to use today, I'm going to be using a piece of this silver flat mesh, and I'm going to be using the round capture Pearlesque chain. It's so beautiful. This is color is Storm, and then one flat crimp for the mesh. Alright, so in order to get started, we're going to use this foam ball. And before, I went ahead and prepped the ball, and I just, there's a little bit of a ridge that comes on these balls. I guess that's when they put it together and seal it, it creates a little bit of a bump. And so I just went around and I sanded that down so that it doesn't show through my ribbon. Today I'm also going to be using some Eileen's clear gel tacky glue. And so the first thing I'm going to do is find the top of my ball, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that around here, so that my when I put my ribbon on top, like so, and I'm going to use 2 pins for each. 1 pin for this side and 1 pin for the other side, so that as the glue dries it does stay in place, and I just keep pushing those down with my thumb. Come around to the other side. Oops. Got my fingers in the glue. That's the fun part of this, right? And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm adding a little bit of that glue to this side, and then I'm going to do the same thing where I'm just adding the pins on each side. Like so. And then you're going to come in, and you're going to need to leave a little bit of a gap. And I forgot to mention how big these are. These are 5 inches long, and so when you're placing them, you want to place them such that this piece of ribbon will go over both of them. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to add all of my one type of ribbon around. I have the first ribbon completed, and now I'm going to come in and I'm going to add the second ribbon, and I'm going to do the same thing with the pins, and I'm also going to sort of lock down these little pieces here that are sticking up. So to do that, I'll do the first one, and you can come in and trim away any little hairs of the ribbons that are, because they are they're satin. This is a satin ribbon, and so any type of ribbon should work. So I'm just pushing that down, my second pin on the other side to keep it in place. And then you're going to come around and you're just going to lock, find a spot where you can close it in. And I would just add a pin because we're going to be covering that with the SilverSilk around the midsection of the bobble. Okay, and then I'm just going to end this one on this side with a little bit more of the Eileen's glue. And the glue just helps you, along with the pins, it helps to lengthen the life of your bobble so that it will last. And I'm adding another pin on this side. There we go. So now I'm going to do all the other empty spaces with the coordinating ribbon. Okay, so now I have both of my coordinating ribbons on my foam ball. And now for the fun part, and what I like to say are the stars of this show, and that is to add our capture chain and some Jesse James beads. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the middle section. This is a 3 foot piece of the capture chain, and I'm finding the middle of it, and I'm going to just place it in the center of my ball. And it's okay if you eyeball it, and I'm going to add a pin right in between the little ball chain inside the capture chain. And then I'm going to come to the next one, the next blue ribbon, and I'm going to add a chain, a pin there too, right in the center. So now I've got it sort of pinned to the ball, and I have these 2 lengths. You're going to wrap one side like so, and then you're going to wrap this side so that your capture chain is in the middle of the ball. I have my capture chain added to the center of my bobble. And now we can start adding some beads. So I am going to start with these beautiful beads right here. And the way I do that is I take a stick pin, and I'm going to, the bead that is going to be showing on the outermost part of your bobble is the bead that will need to go towards your head pin, because you're going to be pushing it in like so. So then I'll add, you know what, I think I'll add a pink, and we'll mix it up a little with this silver piece. Oops. And then for this part, I do want to add a little bit of E6000 anywhere I have a bead that's going to be on the ribbon. I would not add it here. I think it should stick okay. So like if I added it here, I'll just say I'm going to add it here in the middle of that piece. It should stick just fine and hold things together like so. And you're going to go along this capture chain and just sporadically add any beads you would like to add. You can even use a bead to cover up the ends so that those are hidden underneath a beautiful bead. Okay, so we have added all of the beads to our bobble, and I've gone ahead and completed the underside of my bobble. And I'm going to show you the same technique for the top. So we need to get through these layers of pinned ribbon here. So how I have been doing it is I take a pin and I am getting at the center, and I'm just kind of marking it, so you can see that, with my pin, and I've got a little dot there, you're not going to be able to get through all those layers with all the glue, so you need something a little bit stronger. And so I just take a little awl and I gently work it through those layers so I can get my pin in there, like so. I think I've gotten through the layers. So now I can add the top with my beads. And I'm going to use, I'm using these stick pins. They have a frosting on them, a coated paint. They're a stick pin. And I was going to use these two together, but it's a bit tall when I was working through it. So I've gone ahead and grabbed another bead cap, and I'm going to put this on top. Then I'm going to add my SilverSilk. I've got a 3-inch piece, 3.5-inch piece of the SilverSilk, and I just want to add that so that it wraps around my Jessie James Beads boho bead, like that. And we're going to add a one of the SilverSilk flat mesh clasps or crimps to it to make our connection so that you can eventually add an ornament hook. So that's the plan. And so in order to do that, I want to use some E6000. It's a really strong glue. And I'm just going to add that around the top where my beaded cap is going to go. And I'm just adding a pretty good amount to make that connection. That there. And I like the E6000 because it dries clear. And you can also, it's good for cleanup. It really is. So I'm going to go ahead and add my, actually, I'm adding this. And then I'm going to add my, and it's such a beautiful bead. Look at that bead. These are perfect. They make the baubles just, you know, so special. And I really just love them. So I'm just going to make it even in the center of my flat mesh. Like this. Just going to put it through the center of the flat mesh like that. And it's just going to sit like that, so it's all good. And then I wanted to see if I could add this. I could get away with it, I think. And then this. So this is what it's going to look like on top. Like that. So before we add it, we need to add some more glue in between each of our connections. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Whoops. Hit everything out of the way so everything has a good connection and it doesn't come apart, and our bauble has some lasting. I'm just going to add a little bit of that glue to the bottom part of this here. See if I can get that in there with my toothpick and just sort of spread it around. It makes a really good connection. And then I'm going to add a little bit more on the bottom side of my SilverSilk so I can add my bling, my blingy rondelle. And then I'm going to add a little bit more glue on the bottom there so I can add my, so now we've got everything with a little bit of glue. And oops, I almost forgot here. I do want to add just a tad bit there, just so everything is sticking together nicely and my bauble doesn't come apart when it's being hung, and it will be good for year after year. I love E6000, it's great. All right, so now we're ready to add this to our bauble, and I'm going to find that little hole, and then I'm just going to push that in, and hopefully I've gone down far enough. There we go. And I'm just pushing it down. So that's what it looks like. And remember, you don't want to drill too far down with your awl. You just want to get inside the few layers of the ribbon. It helps to kind of just push through. All right, so now, and I always get glue on my fingers, so now we're going to bring this up, and let's see if oh good, I actually managed to get my SilverSilk even. That never happens. So I'm so glad it's even. But yeah, we just want it to look like that. So now we're going to add the crimp, and that becomes our connector piece so that we can add a hanger to it. So I'm just going to add my SilverSilk connector, my crimp, on top. And I do recommend that you allow 24 hours for this to dry before gifting or hanging it on your tree. You want it to dry really well. All right, let's see. I can get this on camera. And I've just clamped it down, and I'm going to turn it around and clamp the other side. I'm using nylon jaw pliers in order to clamp that down so I don't mark up my beautiful silver on there. And that is what our bauble looks like. And again, allow 24 hours for it to dry. And once you are dry, you can hang it away, add your connector for the tree, or for a bauble, or for maybe even for a window, even for a car ornament. Oh, how lovely would that be? So here are some of the other ideas that I created, and I just wanted to share with you. I also used the flat mesh for this candy cane ornament. It's not quite done yet. I'm working on it. And then I added flat mesh in gold to make an even more elaborate. I used fabric on this one with some Swarovski crystal dangles. And then I also made this one, which has a nutcracker theme. And I also used some beautiful Jesse James beads to decorate that one. And one last one, one on wood. I marbleized the wood and then embellished it with some vintage and Jesse James beads. I used flat mesh, and I used the green, this beautiful green that looks like sparkly tinsel for this one. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you will find it inspirational. I hope you try to create your own beautiful and magical baubles. Don't forget to check out silversilkonline.com for your knitted chains that you can use, and also connector pieces. And Jesse James beads. They have some gorgeous, gorgeous strands of beads that are perfect for these small gifts and beautiful treasures that will last a long time. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your